Hello everyone, Calico Arteo here, and today I'm going to be playing Cabin Fever. Now, this is a visual novel that I recently discovered through another game, which, Anyway, so I've always wanted to play a visual novel. I've seen them on YouTube, stuff like that, and I thought I'd give one a try. And why not the one that I discovered through an unspecified means? And that's all I will say on that. Anyway, this visual novel has voice acting in it, but I turned off the protagonist voice actor because yours truly will be doing the voice for you. And so, yeah, if you like my video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see down in the comments below. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, well, okay, well, Arteo, that'll be our name. All the setup, I did this beforehand, ignore that thing in the middle. For mature audiences. So yeah, got it. Chapter 1, Prologue. I don't remember much about the world before the sickness. I was just a kid when it started, too young to fully grasp all the changes happening across the globe. Looking back, it was as though someone caused... I can't read. Looking back, it was as though some cosmic clearance bin of trashy dystopian paperbacks was spilling plot points out onto reality. You had your unknown virus, your slow-to-act world leaders, your extremists, deniers on one end, doomsday preppers on the other, and overall just a heck of a lot of scandal and angst. What it boiled down to was this: stay away from each other. Yup, that's simple. Stay away. Because the sickness mutated so rapidly, spread so easily, and killed so many people that preventing transmission was the only way to stop it from wiping out the human race. A cure could be developed, they told us. Would be developed, they promised. Somehow, someday. Life changed. Everything. From school and work to medical appointments, and family business, and blah blah blah. And family dinners become virtual. Oh crap! Like, a lot. Let's just read that line real quick. Life changed. Everything from school and virtual to medical appointments and family dinners became virtual. As it turns out, hosting an online society requires a lot of computer programming. Like, a lot. Lucky for me, I'd always had a knack for stuff like that. It was easy to get trained and even easier to find work. When's the last time you heard a young person say that, huh? I did programming for our medical services, government websites, automated manufacturing. There was no shortage of freelance contracts. Of course, places like movie theaters, shopping malls, and restaurants died out. Even farms and factories became so rare, so much of the workforce lost. But to be honest, I personally thought it was all a net gain for the planet. Fewer people meant less population. War and terrorism dropped to an all-time low. Most people learned at least to be somewhat self-sufficient. As for me, well, since my parents both died not long after my high school graduation, I was probably more self-sufficient than most. I was alone for a long time, long enough to be used to it. At least I was healthy. I had my routine, with lots of work to keep me busy and the internet at my fingertips to keep me from getting bored. What more could I have wanted? What more indeed? Chapter 2. Seed. Sick. Oh, a virus that keeps us indoors and infects fast. I wonder what that is. Interesting. I lived in an off-grid cabin that had been in my family for years. When I was young, we used to visit every summer, just to get away from it all. I'd probably call that ironic, but every time I say that word, someone tells me I'm using it wrong. Anyway, when the sickness started spreading, the cabin became a place to survive. It had everything a small family could need. Though, like I said, by this time I was the sole member of my bubble. I was used to taking care of myself. On a good day, with the sun shining onto the solar panels, I could get 30... I don't know how to read that. I'm dumb. More than enough power to... Oh, I'm guessing kilowatts per hour? Something like that? I don't know. More than enough to power the appliances in the house and keep the battery bank full. And since the cabin sat near the mountains, I'd often get a decent power level at night with the wind turbine catching the air coming off the ridge. But that night was raining. Hard. Like most evenings, I spent this one on my computer playing playing my favorite idle clicker and browsing the web for news. The news is mostly doom and gloom, of course, but I like finding the odd tech or space-related articles sprinkled in. I was thinking about how badly I wanted aliens to be real when an email alert danced to the corner of my screen. I opened it. Yet another forward from one of my more gullible work colleagues about a possible cure to the death-dealing virus. This particular claim apparently stemmed from a breakthrough in the study of bovine bodily function. What a load of bullshit. Literally, ha! Good one. Oh, this sounds so much like me! I was pretty much the only company I had anymore, so yeah, I talked to myself. I deleted the email, letting out a heavy sigh. There was a point in time when I found myself sort of There was a point in time when I found that sort of thing amusing. The ridiculous conspiracy theories and clickbait titles. But now, I just found them sad. I glanced at the clock. Time for tea. I put the computer into sleep mode and headed into the kitchen. On my way there, I accidentally kicked a broomstick laying across the floor. This place is messy, by the way. Like, holy crap, I just realized how messy this place is. Ow, 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 ow. Why is that even there? I never sweep! In that moment, I judged myself hard. Oh well, the world has basically ended, so what's the point of cleaning up? It wasn't like I was expecting company. I kicked the broom aside and carried on. In the kitchen, I sipped a nice big cup of herbal tea. I then tossed my used tea bag into the compost bin, noting as I did it that the bin was nearly full. I'd have to take it out soon, empty it into the tumbler with the rest of my food scraps and plant waste. Then, probably in the spring, I'd add fresh compost to the garden, give my plants a healthy nutrient boost. I loved my plants. I wanted them to be strong in case they ever needed to defend the cabin from zombies or traveling salespeople. Smirking to myself, I stood in the kitchen and sipped my tea. The only sound was the muffled rush of the rain outside. So peaceful. What was that? A fox prowling outside? A raccoon? There wasn't a person in my garden, was there? I went to the window, peering out into the darkness and listening hard. I don't have to go out there and check, do I? I mean, someone could be in trouble. But then again, someone could be trouble. Maybe just stand on the porch and yell for whoever it is to get off my lawn? I weighed my options. Go outside and investigate? No. Or stay inside and lock all the doors. Well, the logical thing to do would be stay inside and lock, but I'm too curious. The scream really had sounded human. I couldn't just ignore that. As much as I wanted to stay inside, warm and dry. I was raised by humanitarian hippies, and all I got was this pesky conscience. Kidding, love you, Mom and Dad. Please don't haunt me. I set down my tea, went to find the crank-powered flashlight, and shoved my feet into a pair of boots. Hopefully, and probably, I wouldn't find anything out there. But checking was the right thing to do. I pulled open the door and stepped out onto the porch. The flashlight flickered pathetically. Luckily, all you need to do is power up a hand-cranked flashlight into his hands, which I had. I scanned the dark garden. Raindrops lit up as the light passed over them, and the trees and shrubs around the cabin swayed. All I could hear was the wind and rain. A chill ran down my back. Yo, anybody out here? No? Cool. Have a good night then. I turned to head back inside. A small voice stopped me in my tracks.
Hello? I'm here. Would you mind, helping me out of this, please?
The rain seemed to beat down harder as my pulse sped up. I turned my flashlight towards the voice, my hand visibly trembling. It sure is cold out. I'm definitely not shaking out of fear, because that would be super lame. I forced myself to step down off the porch and follow the path until I was close enough to make out the shape of a person. as the weak flashlight beam illuminated once more. I gasped. Whoever I'd been expecting to find, it certainly wasn't this delicate wisp of a girl. She was so pale she almost looked like a ghost. Even her hair was long and clinging to her face in the rain, shone bright, almost white in the glow of the flashlight. She was crouched on her hands and knees in the mud, as though she'd fallen. 100 questions raced through my head. Where did she come from? How long had she been out in the storm? Why wasn't she dressed for the rain? Was she lost? Was she sick? I tried to sound tough, like my dad would have. You there! What are you doing on my property? The young woman squinted against the flashlight.
Please, I got lost and I promise I wasn't trying to steal anything.
Her voice quivered, which I thought was kind of dumb. After all, she was the interloper. It was me who should be freaking out, which I was. Well, then explain yourself. Why are you just laying on the ground there? Seems pretty sus. Why the heck did I add that last part? What was I trying to do? Lighten the mood? The girl turned her head away. Was she trying to make me feel bad? Was she, God forbid, stifling a cough? I took a step back, unwilling to take any chances.
I can't get up.
Her matter-of-fact tone surprised me. I guess I was expecting some elaborate sob story, and our pleas for food and money or medicine. It could still be a trick, though, I thought. She could be getting ready to rob me. At this point, my flashlight was starting to lose its brightness. I stood there, cranking the handle to power the light back up. It was a long, awkward intermission, backed by the droning sound of the flashlight being worked. But the light was coming back on. I wound the crank a few more times to shine it brighter on her. The whole horrifying picture became clear. Somehow, the girl had gotten her leg caught in one of my animal traps. She must not have seen the rusted old thing in the dark, and had grabbed her calf and torn it open. Okay, so this probably wasn't a trick. Oh my god, are you okay? I started to move towards her, but then my own legs froze in fear of getting close to another human. If she was sick, then I could get sick. But then, I had no way of knowing whether or not she carried the virus, and right now, she was hurt and trapped because of me. I felt horrible. If I left her to fend for herself, anything could happen. A hungry bear might come along, the weather could turn freezing, and even if she did manage to get herself out of the trap, she'd probably develop an infection fast in such a nasty wound. Swallowing hard, I clenched my fist and forced myself to approach her. I had to get way too close for comfort, but I crouched, opened the trap, and freed her leg. It was bleeding pretty heavily, though now I could see it up close. It didn't look as deep as I feared.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you found me. I was afraid I'd be trapped in that thing all night.
I stood up quickly and took a few steps back. For some reason, the girl was smiling at me. Didn't she understand that it was my stupid fault that she'd gotten hurt? Then again, maybe she shouldn't be sneaking around in the dark. My brain bickered with itself over who to blame before realizing the girl wasn't able to get to her feet. I reluctantly offered a hand, wishing I'd thought to put on some nitrile gloves. But why would I have thought of that? I hadn't seen another human in... How long had it been? Accepting my help, the girl climbed to her feet. She wobbled, leaned in, and grabbed my waist to use me as a crutch.
Sorry. Is it okay that I'm touching you like this?
Her words sent a chill down my spine. Touching? Just the thought of it made me break out in a cold sweat. It's fine. Let's just get out of this rain. What was I doing? When I decided to let her into my house? When had I decided to let her in my house? The warm light glowing inside the cabin was like a beacon drawing us in. Well, said my brain to myself, I guess this is a thing we're doing now. I no longer needed my flashlight, so I tucked it away and used that hand instead to help support the injured girl up the pathway. With my arm around her waist and her arm around my shoulder, it became very clear to me how small she really was. Small and delicate, like a folded paper crane. A soggy limp paper crane drenched in a drenched dress that clung to her shivering body. Just then my pant leg caught on something, a nail jutting out of the side of the porch. I felt the fabric tug and rip as we moved past. Great. What an evening this was turning out to be. Once we made it inside, I helped the stranger sit down on a wooden chair. I made a mental note to disinfect the chair later, and my clothes. Maybe even the flashlight, but first aid. Ugh, where did I put that kit? I was never good at staying organized. Even on my computer, all my folders and internet tabs were a mess. No point fighting entropy. That was my philosophy. Relatable. I searched the drawers, the counter, the floor, and nearly tripped over the dumb broom again before finally finding the first aid kit. It was not well stocked, but it would do for now. I gathered up some towels and my forehead thermometer too. Then I washed my hands, put on some gloves, and a face mask from an old box in the back of the cupboard, and brought everything over to the waiting girl. Before anything else, let me scan your temperature. I held the scanner up to her forehead. 2 seconds passed before we heard the good beep, which meant her temperature was normal. No fever. That's a relief. Do you have any other symptoms? Her eyes widened. She shook her head. Well, it was better to be cautious. I barely breathed as I took her leg into my lap and started tending to her wound. She didn't wince or complain at all. She was tougher than she looked. I was the opposite. I knew. I looked mean even when I wasn't trying, but on the inside I was basically a fluffy yellow duckling with anxiety. This character becomes more and more relatable with every passing second. If our situation weren't reversed, and it was my leg all cut up like that, I'd probably been a weepy wreck spouting rare and extravagant curse words. But she just sat there, quietly watching.
Are you a doctor?
Was she joking? Do you honestly think I look like a doctor? Shit. Way to draw attention to your looks, idiot, I thought to myself. Not that I cared, really. It was just that I hadn't combed my hair in a few days. Or weeks. And I'd been living in the same set of clothes for a while now. A ratty old t-shirt with a rocket ship on the front, and a pair of jeans that had long gone out of fashion. Hot, right? In another life, I might have felt self-conscious. Not about my teeth, though. Never about my teeth. Dentists were a kind of thing of the past, and since I wanted to keep my teeth, for chewing purposes and whatnot, I was committed to practicing good oral hygiene. That's very important. Viewers, always brush your teeth, floss, that's very important. See? Even in the apocalypse, always brush your teeth.
Well, I'm not sure what a doctor looks like, but you seem to know what you're doing, and you're a very kind person. So I believe you if you told me you were a doctor.
I looked away, awkwardly holding a clean bandage against the gash on her leg. The towels I used to clean the wound were now a pile of blood-soaked, mud-stained rags on the dirty floor. Was I a kind person? By the way, she is remarkably clean for someone who is just on the dirty floor. She was out in the mud, and she is remarkably clean right now. It's just basic first aid. Not a big deal. Here, hold this. Put pressure on it while I wrap it up. I wrapped the length of gauze around her narrow leg to hold the bandage in place. That should be okay overnight, but we should probably clean it again and rewrap it tomorrow morning. Her leg didn't leave my lap. Instead, she wiggled her toes and shot me a small smile.
You're going to let me stay here?
Huh? I looked up at her and instantly forgot how to speak, because suddenly I was struck with how pretty she was. I mean, the rain had really done a number on her, but still. I don't know, she's still pretty. She must have been around 20, give or take. Not too much younger than me. She was thin, but everyone was thin these days. With her, it's like she'd been built this way. Small and delicate and weightless. And apparently I can't talk. I'm so sorry. I cannot read. I'm apparently illiterate. Her dress was simple and a little threadbare. The rain had soaked through, and I realized I could sort of see her undergarments. I quickly averted my eyes, my cheeks warming. I hope she hadn't noticed me looking, because I really hadn't meant to look.
You said clean it again tomorrow, right?
I did say that. The room seemed to spin a little, and my face went from feeling very hot to feeling very cold. Stay away from each other. That was the rule. What was I supposed to do? Well, she's gotta stay. Look how pitiful she is. Said my brain! Maybe my brain was right, and I didn't know what to do except to go along with it. Well, it's not like I'm going to just send you back out into the rain. Not by yourself, anyway. Is there anyone else in your bubble? Anyone I can call to come get you, or... She looked down into her lap.
No.
Oh. Her response made me too nervous to ask any further questions. I just wasn't sure I could handle a tragic backstory at that particular moment. In any case, I knew that if my parents were still around, they had never sent this girl back out into the night. They'd have let her stay, at least until she got her bearings. I sighed, giving in. Okay, well, you can sleep on my couch tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. We should really stay at least 6 feet apart, though. Wow, the similarities get more and more clear.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
She nodded and gently removed her leg from my lap. I moved back, making more space between us, and sat to examine the rip in my pant leg. Meanwhile, my brain tried to fathom what was happening. I brought a stranger into my house. I didn't know who she was or where she'd come from. This seemed like a bad idea, and also a tad surreal. Damn, I liked these pants.
Oh no, did you get hurt too?
No, it's just a rip.
Oh, that's not so bad.
I got up and made even more space between us. She stood up too, testing her weight on her injured leg.
Wow, it already feels so much better. You must have a magical healing touch.
Oh, I got a magical healing touch. Hell yeah. That was gross. I'm so sorry. That was gross. I was starting to think she might be one of those weird optimistic people. Also, it was hard to think straight with her standing up in that very damp, very revealing dress. You need to take that dress off. That came out wrong. What I meant is, it's wet and cold, and I'm sure you'd feel better if you changed into something dry and warm. I'm sure I have some extra clothes you can wear.
Really?
Hot in the face, I ran to procure a basket of old clothes from my storage closet. I hadn't worn them since my teenage years. They were too small for her now, but they might be a good fit for her. Here, take whatever you want. They're all clean. I dropped the basket on the table and walked backwards away from it.
That's so nice of you. I'll get changed now.
I watched her take the basket and hobble out of the room to change where I couldn't see. When she came back, I was surprised to see that she had chosen a button-down that was part of my old school uniform back from before everything went online. I'd been much younger and much smaller when I wore that shirt, but even still, it swam on her frame. It almost looked like a nightgown, which was probably why she had chosen it.
I haven't felt this comfy since I don't know when. It's a school shirt, right? I always liked the look of school uniforms, but I never got to wear one. All my classes were online.
For some reason, that made me a little sad. I myself had so few memories of the world before the sickness. It was hard to imagine not having any at all. How old are you?
21. My birthday was actually last week.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday. Do you have a name?
Oh, of course I do. It's Mallory.
Mallory. I already knew that. I already knew that from the game that I will not disclose. Not nice to meet you, Mallory. Well, not nice exactly. Weird to meet you, I guess. Ugh, I'm not used to people.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't mean to trespass onto your property. I really did get lost. And then the rain started, and I could hear these dogs or something howling. I was scared, and I ran towards the first light I saw.
I nodded, as if to say I understood. It was true that there were things like wolves and coyotes in the area. That was why I'd set up an extra secure fence for my chickens. But what were you doing out there in the first place?
I would rather not talk about that.
I stared at her, totally perplexed. Why the secrecy? Should I press for more? Yeah, no, let's let it go for now. Doesn't want to talk about it. We can discuss it later. You decided not to push it. It was all too much, and I really needed to sleep. My toe was hurting where I stubbed it on the broom. Don't worry about it. You're here now, so just take the opportunity to get some rest. I skirted around to grab some blankets. Oh my god! I can't read! I maintained a wide berth as I dropped them on the couch. I offered her a glass of water. Pointed at the bathroom, asked if she needed anything, all from afar.
This is perfect. Thank you so much for everything. Truly, I'm lucky to have met you.
Yeah, just try not to touch anything, okay? I shuffled my feet awkwardly. Okay, I'm going to bed. Bye!
I hope you have sweet dreams. I'll see you in the morning.
As I made my way up the stairs to my bedroom, I glanced back. Mallory was already curled up on the couch, looking quite cozy. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had anyone in my home, even briefly. I'd been so careful for such a long time. I didn't know where she'd been, or if she was as careless as I was. But when my gaze fell on her bandaged leg, a prickle of guilt surged up. Good night. I finished climbing the stairs and flopped down on my bed. I was so exhausted, emotionally puzzled, and mentally drained. It didn't take long for me to fall deeply asleep. Chapter 3. Germination. Oh, should I start this one? I'm debating it, or should I leave it up for another video? You know what? Let's leave it up for another video. I can make this a long... I can make this a long-standing series that they will have to suffer through. My viewers will suffer through it. And it doesn't matter because no matter what, I'm making it because I want to play this game. Anyway, this has been part 1 of my Cabin Fever playthrough. I will be posting the next one as soon as I record it and edit it and stuff. God, I'm so bad at this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember to like and subscribe and follow me for more. And anyway, goodbye. I'm so sorry. Bye. Bye.